Hey, Madam.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Nathan.
Hey. Oh, very good. Madab, hey, Nuno. Madab, I just had a one-on-one with Subham just a little bit ago. We were going over some Git commands and a little bit about our build and release uh, for Meshery. And then we also went over, a couple of items that one item on layer 5 that he's going to try to take on, but now that I think of it, um, it might be up your alley. It's a very small thing, but it's about if you go to layer5.io/meshery, you'll find that the getting started section has three commands.
Okay.
If you go to highlight it, it's a multi-line thing, and the highlight will capture the $ for the shell, which doesn't work well when you go to paste it into your terminal. So he was gonna take a crack at that.
Okay, I will look into it.
Yeah.
I think like GitHub only resolved that issue like last year or something like that. So it's a common Markdown, I think, issue when you post like I don't know like Markdown like a blog code and it's like uh, yeah, or HTML, like, and you have to pass yourself like the $ and something like that just to make it like more console. Then they were like copying also, so might be some front ends, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. Like even GitHub just fixed it last year. I remember like everyone was like crazy that they could finally copy paste or copy the text without the markers in
Yeah.
front.
Yeah. Yeah. Slack is pretty bad about formatting when you're copying and pasting.
Oh yeah, don't tell me about that. Like I try to copy sometimes. I had like even for you, like I had to create like a file, a text file, so I could like send it
Right.
because like if I was trying to send like text, it was like all messed up.
Um, hmm. We've got a couple of good topics queued up. Mata, the session with Subham was really good, and I said at least once before that we were, on the community call, we're going to try to get to the things that you guys are focused on and spend time doing it, going over it. But but that seems to never happen. Just because we get get into the thick of other discussions and other topics, it might make sense. It absolutely makes sense for you guys to be on this call, absolutely. But it also, and actually, since Anand's here as well, I'll kind of say it again, and that's Anand. I caught up with Subham a little bit earlier, which was great, kind of a one-on-one session, and we made some progress on things. Hopefully, we'll get some time to spend on your Madhab and Anand's area of focus. And you guys should absolutely be on this call. It's wonderful to have you. But we might want to do another call in addition to this that's really much more focused on the things that you're looking at, so that we can get some airtime. So I wonder, between, and actually I think we just lost Anand, but anyway, it seems like Subham and Madhab, if we tried to sync outside of this call on a weekly basis, would it be? I wonder if Fridays, like an hour or two before our community call, I wonder if that would be a good time for you.
Okay, I have no problem with that.
Nice.
No problem.
Okay. And then, okay, well, I don't know. Let's give it a shot. I'll toss up a calendar item. Well, that way we can really dig into the stuff you guys are working on. We're about 5 after, actually. Maybe we should start the community call. We'll probably have some people joining late, but I'll go ahead and share the meeting minutes. And so Madhab and Anand, be sure to record your names down on the roster. At some point we're gonna have to, when the community gets large enough, we may end up we'll have to do something about the folks that come every week, and either use their attendance as a tiebreaker, okay, when there's the occasional argument or coming, the tiebreaker that might be needed for making a decision on a particular approach. So those that attend consistently have voting rights, whereas those that don't. Maybe something like that as an idea, or that those that just attend very frequently. Maybe there's a copy of a book, the forthcoming book or something that you would need, or something to encourage folks, because it's good. I'm glad you guys stay up as late as you do to join. So Nuno hops through trains just to be on, so it's good.
Sorry again?
Oh, I was just saying, your effort to be on the community call does not go unnoticed. As
Okay, thank you. But that's okay. It's actually it's one of the better aligned for me community calls. I'm just participating normally into like the CNAB one, but it's later on. So normally I'm on the train, and now that you moved from my 9 o'clock to my 5 o'clock, it's way better, definitely.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, good. Well, few updates. Yesterday we had some live training through O'Reilly. Garish and I both delivered an introduction to Istio. It's about a 3-hour course. It's our second time delivering it, and it takes people through Istio and teaches them Istio, and as part of that, we leverage Meshery in the labs. In the way in which the course is written today, Meshery is leveraged to generate a bunch of load so that we can look at the various telemetry signals, the metrics and logs and traces. And so 2 positive things happen as a result of that. One, we end up inviting people to join the Slack. So you may have seen about 30 or so new Slack members coming in yesterday, so that's great. A few people have signed up for the mailing list as well. That's great, because that mailing list is used to give people updates on Meshery and the progress. And so at some point when we have a post that talks about WSL2, those people will get an update about that post and about other things, so it's good.
I like that.
Yeah. And since you guys and gals come to the community meeting and things, I mean, hopefully you're just getting inherently a bunch of information about Istio and service meshes and learning quite a bit. But I would also highlight that the trainings here, much of the materials are posted in a self-service fashion as is. And so if you're interested, if you haven't seen it, if you go to layer5io/workshops, you should be able to find both the deck that's used and the labs that are used. And if you don't, message me or message Garish, and we'll make sure that you guys have those so you can take them at your own pace. Good. Another thing, Subham and I were chatting about how we might be able to find other folks like Anand and Madhab, or whether they're going to the same university or anywhere, just distributing some of those some of those flyers in various places, in part because we're still looking to create Meshery.dev, the other site for that just focuses just on the project. And so Madhab, I'm kind of looking at you when I say that, in terms of starting out that new site. So the work that you've done thus far on the Layer 5 site has been great. It has been exactly what I was hoping that you would do, and so the improvements are nice.
Thanks, Lee.
Also, thanks so much for everyone that expressed opinion on the logos. It's appreciated. The indecision here is going to kill me or someone will kill me soon if we don't get it figured out. So there's two other designers that are working on more alternative versions, more things. So the issue is, in some respects, many of the designs come back and they look kind of like a cube, and it's highly appropriate, that sort of a design. Although when you go look at the CNCF landscape, there are about 15 other projects that are using a cube-like thing, and it just kills me that we would have a 16th cube out there. So I'm trying to avoid that. Okay, great. I think those are the general updates with respect to the community. By the way, Ramesh, who some of you had met a time or two ago, I think his wife's going to go back to India for a visit, which is going to give him a lot of free time. So I expect probably next week we'll see a fair bit from Ramesh. We closed out a number of issues this week, a number of which were just sort of older, and we'd taken care of these and not closed them out. A number of them got closed out based on Garish having landed the stuff that he demoed last time, the switch to Billboard.js, the persistent storage. That's great. I think it's good for us for everyone to be aware, kind of the week's change log, if you will. This week's upcoming potential issues to be landed are one. I think actually Anand or Madhab, I think you knocked this one out already, I believe. I'll move it up to closed. And Madhab, if that issue is still open, maybe if you want to go ahead and close it, because I think we're good to go.
Yeah, the alternative colors are already closed.
Nice. Yeah, and okay, very good. Do a quick check if you would on the issue. If it's still open, you're empowered to close it. So.
Okay, I will check it.
The SMI metrics and SI integration, we're going to move past this, I think, because I don't know that Nick or Tarun are on today. Are they? Okay, well, this is good and bad. Good in that we can focus on some other topics. Bad in that I'm going to have to harass them on Twitter about not being here. So, next up, Harshini is with us. Harshini, do you want to give kind of a recap of recent work on the NSM adapter?
Hi. So the running the scripts, I haven't completed that part yet. So some key generation and creating secret tunnel has to be done. So was working on that.
Got it. Yeah, to be completed. And the key generation is for what? That's just part of the default NSM deployment, that new keys need to be generated?
Yes, for the default deployment, certain keys needs to be generated.
Got it. Okay. Can you maybe for Nuno and for some of the rest of the folks, and actually for me, as I understand it, we've taken a slightly different, or we've refactored our approach to the adapter. What does that approach look like? Or, kind of if you can give just a high level description of how the adapter is shaping up, like how it's.
So initially I tried to deploy the NSM pods, uh, uh, like how usually a manual installation is being done.
Okay. Okay, and is that still the current approach then?
Yes. So was working on that seek key generation. So if that was completed, um, the approach was like to deploy NSMs.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, that seems a bit easier maybe than the Git clone that we were working on before. If there are Kubernetes manifests that can be taken and used to bring up NSM, that's fantastic. That seems a bit easier. And so am I getting that right? Is that like as NSM goes to be deployed, you'll be taking Kubernetes manifests and applying them to the cluster?
Um, yes, I think.
Okay, yeah. And then, Garish, of the conversations that you guys have had, any potential hang-ups that you think Harsh?
Yeah, sorry. I was having an issue like the NSM adapter's port number was always showing 10,004. Sorry, 10,000. The STO's port. So Girish helped me in solving that. That was because of some Docker image problem.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Yep, just a port conflict. But then, yep, Garish, of the last conversations you guys have had, any snags you think that she's going to run into, or just it seems relatively straightforward?
Yes, I think she'll be okay for the most part. I've even offered to actually help her, like if she's stuck with something else. Also, for the script stuff, I did actually let her know and pointed her to the Octane adapter because the Octane adapter is actually, using some capabilities to run some scripts. So I kind of pointed her there so she can actually maybe leverage some ideas from there, if it is, of course, useful for her. So I'm pretty sure, she should be able to, proceed without any hiccups. But if there are, we are here to actually, help her anytime.
Nice, cool. Okay, that's great. Look at Octane as an example. Awesome. Yeah, Harshini, good. And Harshini, thanks for knocking out I think you updated the Octarine adapter to help eliminate that port conflict. So fantastic.
Thank you.
One item, if Prem was on, I was gonna, and maybe Harshini, I don't know if you're comfortable with doing this or not, but there is, Prem had brought forth an NSM architecture, a Meshery adapter for NSM architecture deck that we've looked at a couple of times on this call. I was going to invite him to move that deck into the Meshery community drive so that it would be persisted there and everyone could get to it. But that I think he's the owner of the file, and so he might have to actually do it. So next time you talk to him, if you think about it, maybe
Okay.
ask him if he's inclined to. Next up, Chaim had said he spent this week in Israel, just got back home, isn't able to join the call, but I did let him know that there are 2 items for him to take a look at, and I explained the reason to look at these. For everyone's information, I think about the average size of the adapters that we have right now is about 15 megs, and as we go to incorporate the Octarine adapter as a fully supported adapter, kind of promote it from alpha to beta to now it's stable. That adapter is a little over 100 megs in size, And so hopefully we can reduce its size. It's the Docker file used to create that container, the Meshery Octarine container. It uses a multi-stage build, and so that's great. But the second image that's used in that second phase of the build is this one here. It's the octactl container, and that container is a little over 100 megs, and so hopefully we can figure something out. Once that's done, we'll hopefully have Chaim update the Docker Compose file, the meshery.yaml file, so that the Octarine adapter will be included by default. When he does that, we will also need to ensure that the Meshery documentation has the appropriate adapter instructions with the environment passwords defined. Okay, moving on from the Octarine adapter, we've got the console adapter. There's a small ask out there for Nick, if you're listening, and that is to just, since last we had brought forth the adapter, there's been some new console releases. So I think we both have an ask for Nick in terms of updating the version of YAML that we're using to deploy console to the latest version of console. The second ask that I think we have here is to update the surface mesh landscape with console's latest capabilities. Okay, moving on. We've been preparing for an at-scale set of performance tests to be done on the CNCF's cluster. Part of us getting prepared for that was the desire to use more real-life representative sample applications. And so we talked last week about the fact that we had a call with a professor at Cornell who has worked to create and open source some quote-unquote in real life, if you will, sample apps. The sample app that we talked about last time is called the Social Network. I'll bring it up here just for the visuals. You guys can take a look at it again. Sufficiently complicated or sufficiently complex sample app that we can do performance testing against, but that is only released in a Docker Compose format. And we would like to incorporate this sample app into Meshery, and as part of doing so, Girish, do you want to talk about the effort that you've done thus far to wrap your arms around this app?
Yeah, sure. So what is accomplished is that, we do have the adapter. We do have the app in a functional state. We have it deployed on Kubernetes. So I have converted the configuration files appropriately to Kubernetes constructs, and I have deployed it on Kubernetes. The services are all up and running. The only challenge is I am not sure, how the app really works. I just need to spend some time with it to understand it. And also, I think they do have a recommendation for running a job, which will preload some data into the system. I'm yet to convert that to a Kubernetes job, so that after the services are up and running, maybe the job will actually deploy and then run the appropriate script so that the system will have some data. So these are the two parts that are yet to be done. But the main part of converting the assets to Kubernetes constructs is all done, except for the job. So that's kind of where we are. I have created an issue to track this. I think I might not have updated this doc, which I will probably do in the next few minutes. I will update it in the next few minutes.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on that or comments on that application?
Just a normal user question. So again, I'm not too much into service meshes and maybe what goes on top. So these, if now I look at Meshery itself, would be like another line for deploying an app and being able to test it on the performance and so on. So it will be in parallel at HTTP bean or the other one that we tried to run early.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name now. That is that, right? So it will be like a way of adding new applications, maybe complex as this one, and so with Meshery we will be able to just test how they perform on top of the said service mesh. That the goal at the end, or sorry?
Yeah, you hit it on the head.
I'm mistaking a lot of things, but
Nope. No, you didn't actually. You hit it right on the head. That there are a few different relatively simple sample applications included inside of Meshery that perform a good function of helping people understand the value of a service mesh. And so one of the ones that you and I had looked at not too long ago was this BookInfo application.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, this is something of a diagram of just that, taking that application and deploying it to Kubernetes and just it running there. It's 4 services, 4 different languages. But then yes, that Meshery would take that social network app, facilitate the deployment of it onto Kubernetes, not on the mesh. It would facilitate testing of the performance of that much more complicated application. But that, just like these other sample apps, Meshery would also facilitate taking that complex social network app and putting it onto to any of the meshes, which generally has the effect of sidecarring each of the application containers with a network proxy. And so in Istio's case, it's an Envoy as a sidecar.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, exactly what you said, facilitating benchmarking to come to understand the performance overhead in context of a relatively complex app. So we're almost there, and that'll be great. And actually, that brings up a good point. The way in which I said this, Garish, right now, we do not facilitate the deployment of an application outside of the context of deploying it on a mesh. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Not that, it makes sense. That wasn't.
No. Having said that, an end user can actually deploy an application off the mesh if, for example, so if they go inside Meshery and they choose to install the BookInfo app, we at the moment do not do any validations to see if the mesh exists before we deploy it. But the steps for deploying it on the mesh will still be taken care, which means that it will actually deploy it on Kubernetes in the right namespace, which is requester, etc. It will do the appropriate things, like for example for Istio, it has to label the namespace, so it'll do that. But if Istio is not there on the Kubernetes cluster, then the app itself will work, without the mesh. So Meshery doesn't prevent them from doing that. You are free to do it. The only challenge with that is, for example, in the case with Istio, the BookInfo app will not be exposed outside because of the presumption that the ingress gateway is there, and Meshery will actually try to deploy the virtual service and the gateway definitions as well. So which means there will be an error, but the app will get deployed, but it will not be exposed. But if, on the other hand, in the case of Linkerd and Console, since they do not have an ingress gateway, at least the last time I checked, they will be exposed. So even if the mesh doesn't exist, the apps will be deployed and they will be exposed. So that's kind of the distinction. So we don't limit them, but the recommendation is to actually deploy it on the mesh. So yeah.
Okay, then sorry, just a follow-up question, because again, to understand, it means that the applications that we have at the very beginning are just suggestions actually, and then anyone could maybe add their own application to the mesh, like what Girish just said. Sorry, you mute.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So the whole idea is, like, I mean, it's all open source. Each one of custom app, you can very easily add it and PR it, and like, you should very easily be like able to bring more apps, like, which you want to see be deployed on the mesh for your testing purposes. That is actually the main idea. And plus, now the other side of it is like, there are two ways you can go about it. Like, one, yes, you can actually create. You can create the artifacts, put it in Meshery's adapter, the right adapter, or all the adapters, and kind of get it working on the mesh through Meshery. That's one way. The other way is actually we do provide the custom YAML interface. So if you have the specification for for an app, you can give the YAML to Meshery, and Meshery can actually deploy it like on the spot for you. So pretty much like that works as well. So
because what I would see like a use case, especially now that I'm like in pharma, but we don't really develop, but I can, let's say, corroborate or let's say extend that, is like you have a V1 of your app, you run it on Meshery, so through this maybe YAML interface, and then you have the V2, and then you can compare maybe the performance of the V1 to the V2.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly it becomes really, let's say, prod useful almost.
That is correct, actually. That is correct, yes. So you can actually deploy it, you can run tests against it, and then you can deploy another version, run tests against it, and Meshery already supports like comparing the results. So voila, that's you pretty much like
that is a good, yeah. So that is definitely like a good, maybe a good test or something like that to perform during another blog post. If I finish my huge blog post, I might attack like how to use it and how to compare that, because again, it's the usage. I think it's something that, and again, that's what we discussed with Lee and yourself during KubeCon. But sometimes you are maybe focused like on development, and then suddenly we are maybe, or myself at least, I'm more like on how to use and showcase the possibilities. So if we can have like a V1, V2, whatever of app, one being like a bit more heavy, I don't know if we can find or develop something like that, and then showcase like, okay, here is Meshery, and whoa, hey, look at the diffs, they're beautiful.
Right.
So yeah, definitively that's something that I will try.
Awesome. That sounds great.
It really is.
There is, hey guys, there is another from JK in case you wanna look, and just post it in the chat.
Ooh, and open census too, huh?
Yeah, I think it's already in Kubernetes and has.
It's a sock shop. Oh no, it's a hipster fest.
Hipster shop. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as you have Kubernetes constructs, we can very easily add it. This is a good suggestion. Yeah, cool. Should be easy for us to actually include it.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, Sakla, do you want to update maybe the meeting minutes with that, or create an issue for it? That's a great suggestion.
Sure.
Arguably, this is maybe slightly more intriguing than Weaveworks sock shop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good call out.
I think it has all of the instruction for Docker desktop, and it means like if you want for locally deploy, it shouldn't use too much resources.
It also probably is already instrumented with I would assume with distributed tracing and so that's
I have used open census for tracing.
No, yeah, you're right, and actually that's a technically inaccurate of me to articulate it like that. And as a matter of fact, Open Census has kind of merged into Open Telemetry, and which is a merging of Open trace open tracing with open census, both of them going into open telemetry. And so if this doesn't support distributed tracing already, then you would hope in time that, and you would think that it might, just because they would probably want to, whether it was open census or just Istio, that they'd probably want to show off distributed tracing. So cool, there's a great idea. I got to imagine that it's probably pretty well done. Moreover, Ahmet here does some great work.
I didn't know. Yeah, that's an issue, so we can have a close look.
Awesome. Next up is, I guess I wasn't sharing my screen then, so. That's too bad. Yeah, I thought I was sitting there sharing this shop and all that stuff, but okay. Nuno, you hit it on the head, by the way. The ongoing testing that needs to be done, it's not a one-time thing. Totally. The mesh is going to change. It's going to release new versions. You're going to have to update its config, take advantage of new functionality. You're going to release new versions of your app that's running on it. You're going to want to test it again and again. You're going to compare that as baselines over time. Totally.
Great. At least I understood something about service meshes.
No. It's
cool.
it's a slightly advanced topic.
Just for Sako, I just read like the requests. Well, I do have a beast. Like Girish was a bit envious of my computer, but it still requests like 3 CPUs. It's okay, but like 6 gig RAM. When you have maybe like 8. Many of the computers maybe at home or something like that, it might be harsh to test it. It's maybe 6 gigs RAM on a 16. It's already good, but yeah, it's like, and that's a question because Girish like make me afraid a little bit when we were talking. But is it like service meshes like that? Big in consumption. Sorry, I'm going a little bit sideways, and we can.
That's okay. Generally not. You could actually, I think, a quick argument that you could make is, hey, look, if you're going to ask the service mesh to generate logs, generate metrics, collect a bunch of distributed traces. If you're going to get all that functionality, you can provide that functionality elsewhere, and people do today. And there's CPU that gets burned and memory that gets consumed for doing it. You can do it over there, or for a variety of benefits, you might want to have your infrastructure do it for you. Like, hey, that CPU and that memory, you're going to burn that one way or the next. Is one way of thinking of it. That nothing just comes for free, so. But and it's not like it. You'd argue that it's only even better done more uniformly, more ubiquitously by a service mesh than it is individually in your different apps and your different languages. And then if you turn on all of the features of Istio and you tell it to collect a distributed trace for every single transaction, it's going to be heavy.
Right. Okay. Because again, like putting maybe on top of existing servers, I mean, 6 gigs definitely is nothing, right? If you have a server with 64, 92, 96, I don't know, or even hundreds of gigarams, it's okay, plus all the CPUs and stuff. But when we are talking maybe about testing or development, right? You have your computer, I mean, like Macs, I know that we have quite a lot still. It's like you had 16 until up 2018. Now they are the first ones to have like 32 giga. So like when you have like an application requesting for already 6 gigs, that's just what I was just asking, if they are that let's say consuming so much. And now I understand better the reaction from Girish, actually, from KubeCon. Because for me it was normal. I was just running the stuff, and And now I understand, yeah, way better why suddenly it was like, okay,
Nice.
that I was even able to run it.
Awesome. Two more topics. One is Sako got us together with Tilo from Kinvolk, and we had a discussion about incorporation of a different type of load balancer. Sako, do you want to talk a bit about that and where we're headed?
Yeah, sure. So we had some prototyping around with WRK, and thanks to Lee that brought up there is another WRK2, actually also another fork on top of the WRK, and the main advantage it has currently is coordinated omissions, which means that they're not also just counting how much time it takes for each request, but at the same time, on top of it, it states that, for example, if there is any delay for one of the requests, second request will be impacted from that as well. So that's a thing that is not included in the WRK. So that's one of the reasons we're gonna go with WRK2, and it's also in having the possibility for the multi-endpoint testing. So in case if we have, let's say, product page reviews or details APIs, we can test all, and then we'll have the summary performance test result. So, and then the thing that it doesn't have, that what we were trying to do parity checking with Fortio, is that there is no reports for per request, basically details like how much time it takes, etc. And that's the thing it doesn't have. What else? For the JSON format, it should be in PR. I still need to, for the WRK2, to do the same what I have done for WRK, kind of put in the Docker and play with and make sure that's stuff we have. So I guess that should be it. I guess also he was planning in couple days to make some cleanup, etc., and do merge to upstream to I think to Gluten 1. That I guess will be.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't keep my fingers crossed. I think he's got his focus elsewhere. He's very happy that we're looking to use this though. So in terms of next steps, it sounds like Sako, that's to go grab, go interact with Tilo's fork of WRK2.
I think that's in the chat posted. That's the one we're gonna take it, yeah, from Gluten.
Let's see. So it would be underneath Tilo. It would either be underneath. Okay, so let me share this URL because
Okay.
last time I thought I was sharing a different screen, but I'm sharing. So for the again, just to repeat what, and I put this in the meeting notes, but just to repeat what Sako said, WRK is a load generation tool, an open source one. It's been there for quite some time. This gentleman, Gil Teen, created a fork of WRK. He calls it WRK2. He made some enhancements to it, particularly around this concept called coordinated omission, which Sako explained a moment ago, but probably requires a bit further explanation that I won't give. But then beyond that, Kinvolk had been commissioned by Buoyant, who represents Linkerd, to do some benchmark testing between Linkerd and Istio. They went out and did it and published their results. And we've talked about it on this call in the past. As part of that process, Tilo From, who works at Kinvolk, had chosen to use WRK2 as the tool, When he did, he created a fork of WRK2 and added support to generate load against multiple endpoints. And so, yes, you're very close to being spot on, Sako. The version of WRK2 that we're going to want to use here is, I believe it's this repository here.
Kinvolk Service Mesh Benchmark?
Yeah, it's not that we want to use Kinvolk Service Mesh Benchmark. It's that they've Tilo has augmented and changed WRK2, and he has a fork that supports multiple endpoints. It's probably that fork that we want to use, and so I don't know if those changes are literally in the Service Mesh Benchmark repo, or if he has a different repo for it.
Oh, it's on the Kinvolk? Okay.
Yeah, it's probably here. It's probably
Okay.
this. Yeah, this is his fork, and he's done some work. So I'll put this in the meeting minutes.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
There we go. Yep. And then, so on that, Sako, that was a good recap. What are your next steps?
The next step gonna be put it in the Docker that's currently have that during the building. It was taking a bit much time if build a binary for the Meshery container. So would be once again to confirm for the design part that if we still want to do that part, and if all fine from the Meshery in the server side, run the binary, and pretty much what I guess we confirm with also with Tilo, that's the way to do, and pull it up and bring in the JSON output and push to the front end. That's once confirmed that's implementation path will go, and whatever in the raw data statistics has. So what was doing the JSON PR that I'm gonna have a close look. I guess there should be also JSON output already. That's what Tilo was mentioning, that it's giving you more slightly data because it's taking the raw output, whatever it gives the Lua script to you, and just converting it to the JSON. That we may want to look at what kind of data that's interesting for us to push. So.
Okay. Yeah, good. I think that approach makes sense to me. Garish, is it possible for us to include WRK2 as a library within the Meshery binary, or within the Meshery?
I am not too sure. At least last time we checked, based on Sako's testing, I don't think you can do that unless you want to actually go the Seago route or something. But that's going to be much more harder. So probably the easiest thing to accomplish right now would actually be to just bundle Meshery with WRK2, and then just invoke it from there, or just have it separate in a separate container, and see if Meshery can actually invoke it. The part is that WRK, at least from what I've seen, again please pardon my ignorance. WRK2 does not run as a standalone server like Port.io can, so which means that the only way to invoke it would actually be as a shell script. So I think the easier way to go would be to just bundle it in Meshery and then run it, and then parse the results, which is the other direction where Sako is focusing on, is to get the results of WRK to run in the form of JSON, so that it's much easier to parse. So yeah, unfortunately this is the route right now. Not the best. Worst case, we can actually investigate the Seago route, I wouldn't recommend it now because it would have its own challenges.
I think later maybe that putting it in another container and building some simple web server and having the REST API call from backend to that WRQ2 container, that could be advancement later. And
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah, it's depending upon whether or not it's worth the time. It's really nice and convenient when, or to try to minimize the container sprawl, if you will, such that I think there's this psychological effect, and maybe you can confirm this or not, that psychological effect that happens to people when they go to deploy an application and it's 25 containers. Even if they're really light and small containers, people start to think, wow, this is just a massive thing. It's unwieldy. I do a Docker PS, and now that I'm running Meshery, my whole system, sometimes it's inappropriate and not directly associated. But so anyway, my point is, if as we go forth, if we're being successful and if it makes sense, bundling would be nice. The thing that you described about the separate container with a small interface, either REST or gRPC, to help with that integration, that makes sense to me as well.
So that's it. What you said, Lee, that the two challenges kind of we are having, or trade-offs, that it will increase the Meshery content build time, because it's like compiling WRT, at least the one that it was taking a bit much time. The second thing that it could be, once, I'm not sure for the container was, I didn't tell, but having performance overhead on the Meshery container itself. It may have a bit, but from user perspective, I agree that.
Gotcha. Cool.
They are not, let's say.
Girish, guys. So sorry to interrupt. We got Girish. You want to bring up the dashboard work?
No.
But Sako, I think you were just essentially agreeing, right, with the.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting for Girish to share, I'll just let people know we talked about the need for a homepage, kind of a dashboard within the Meshery UI itself. So Girish will take it away from here.
Cool. Can you guys see my screen? I hope you can.
Yep.
So this is the Meshery interface. Everybody knows. Now a new addition here is actually the home icon here on the right top. So you can actually navigate to the home page via two ways. One is actually using the home icon, or you can just click on the Meshery on the left top, and you should be able to go to the home page or the dashboard. So this is kind of the landing page. So you can see, so if I reload the page, you'll see this is from now on the landing page. This is a very initial version of a dashboard. So since under the settings, so these are the four things we have. So I kind of started off with this, and now as and when things are connected, you will actually see a difference. So now I'm going to actually go inside the settings, show a connection to Kubernetes. So I'm loading all the config files. So you can now see the Kubernetes is connected. So if I come back, you will now see a Kubernetes chip that shows up here. But otherwise, it'll actually show that it's not connected. It's not connected. With the adapters, there's a slight difference that by default, when Meshery runs, you'll actually see that some adapters are available. As an end user, the person is not yet connected to it. So I'm going to show another example here for me, connecting to one adapter. So once I'm connected to an adapter, and then if I go back to the home page, you will see that the adapter is actually displayed slightly differently, with a check mark on the right, where it kind of says that this adapter is connected. So you can also see the tooltip, which actually shows that this is an Istio adapter, while for the other ones you can see that the adapter is inactive. Same thing holds good with Grafana and Prometheus. I have a Grafana endpoint here, so I'm just going to show connection to it as well. And the same thing with Prometheus. I have a Prometheus here, so I'm just going to connect to them. Like, I'm going to try to configure the dashboards. So once you're connected, and if you come back, you will actually see, the connection status show that, like, right now, you as an end user have Kubernetes, an STO adapter, and then Grafana and a Prometheus connection, which is successful. And again, like, all these are piggybacking on the same infrastructure, which is used for persisting the information. So if you reload the page, you should actually see the same. So this is pretty much like, the initial version of the dashboard. So like I said, you can actually click on the Meshery icon here, come to the dashboard, or you can click on the home icon. The home icon will actually show, or it'll have a different indication when you're on the page versus you're off the page. So just like the other icons on the white dot. That's pretty much what I have to show for you guys. Any questions?
Yeah, and I will have to run to take my train actually. Quickly, just in terms of consistency, can you like add a small check, even if it's just one, for the Grafana and Prometheus? No, because suddenly you have visually you say like, okay, my service mesh is checked, and then you have the others, and because it's connection status, is it okay? Is it just configured or not? Because that's what we saw weekly the last time. So whenever it's really connected, let's say, if we can just have a small, I mean, that's just feedback again.
Good. Yeah, good feedback. Thank you, Nuno. I mean, it's a small thing. I can surely update it, and that will definitely be valuable. I understand. Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Okay, and sorry, I run now.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Thank you, Nuno.
Bye.
Bye, Nuno. Oh, very good. All right, as we go to wrap, I figure I'd ask, I know Subham and Madhab, and I think Anand as well, at varying points, each of you were in the process of building Meshery and just kind of confirming your development environment is functional. And I think, Anand, that had been probably some time ago for you as you'd been kind of crunching on Meshery CTL stuff. But I wanted to ask each of you, do you have you built Meshery? Have you built the Meshery UI? Like, are you ready to kind of dig in there?
Yeah, I have just installed the Docker, and I don't have any idea about the Meshery, so I want to ask you how to install that one. But I've installed the Golang and Docker, the tool box. I think download this. That's it.
Gotcha. The one of the better resources to help kind of get you going is when you go to the Meshery repository, there is a contributing.md file in the root of the Meshery repository, and within there are instructions to build Meshery and instructions to build Meshery's UI, which is slightly different. But you're right. If you can use Docker to help you perform the build. Garish, are they gonna? They would still need to have Go installed on their local environment?
Well,
particularly.
so if they want to do development, I think having Go is recommended. But you guys can do away with it actually. If you just want to run the Docker stuff, you don't need Go actually. All you need is Docker. You can run, like, for example, if you run Meshery, it's the same thing. So if you have Docker, the code is being built inside the container, because that was one thing, like, I tried to ensure that, like, it doesn't have dependency on your host. So you don't need Go. Like, if all you need is to just build and run, you don't need Go. You can just use Docker. You don't need npm. You don't need any other stuff. Like, all you need is Docker. If you want to do development, then yes, for the backend development you do need Go, and then for the front-end development you do need Node and npm, etc. Yeah. So it depends on what you're trying to do. I would say just bluntly doing doing everything is good, but I mean, like, if you guys are having issues with it, like, I think maybe going in steps would actually be much helpful.
I think Subham, you're going to go through and take a crack at maybe an item inside of Meshery CTL. So you'll be going through some of this shortly.
Yeah, I will work on this.
Nice. But guys, I'll put an additional time on our calendar to kind of go through outside of the community meeting to make sure that everybody's comfortable, that you've got your development environment set up and NPM is there and Go is there and we're building, and we'll probably grab Garish as well to make sure that that each of you are.
I have no issue with deploying Meshery. I have deployed it.
Oh, nice. Okay. Perfect. But other than that, we're at the top of the hour. Anyone have anything else for the call today?
Yeah, I have something to ask. When I run make Docker, it runs successfully. But while you make site, it shows some errors. I don't know why.
Is that for Meshery or for the layer 5 site?
It's from Meshery.
Garish, I have a conflicting call starting right now, but this might be if Subham, if you're able to post the error messages that you're getting, it may be something you can get knocked out pretty quick right now.
I will share it.
Okay. With that, I'm going to sign off, but this meeting will continue. It's been a good community meeting. Harshini, thanks so much for all of your work again. Sako, you're chopped liver, man, so that's fine. But thanks for getting the call going with Tilo this week. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Ali.
Okay, good. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.